Okay, now we're going to talk about multi-shot aerials. What's a multi-shot aerial? It's a single fuse ignition that shoots multiple, some people call them rockets. We call them balls or stars in the air with different brake effects. So there's a whole host of effects. We could be here for 10 hours to talk about just effects, but I'm going to go through a couple basic ones. So you're going to have different aerial effects that are going to break in the air on both 200 gram and 500 gram items. What's the difference between this guy here and this guy here? A lot of times, this guy at 200 grams can really pack a punch. But don't let the big box fool you. These can really pack a punch also. So really, when you shop for fireworks, you want to get suggestions, you want to do your research, go to blackhatfireworks.com, take a look at the video, and you can definitely check out these items ahead of time before you go shopping. But let's get back to the basics here. So 200 grams, let's talk about that right now. Single ignition fuse. You're gonna light it, retreat, you never run back, you always retreat quickly. On an item like this, I say, once again, be back 75 feet, keep your audience away. Make sure on these items you're shooting from a flat surface. I like to make sure you're either shooting from a concrete or asphalt type surface, or if you're shooting from a grassy area, make sure the area is clear of any sort of debris. And you might want to brace these with a brick so they don't move. You want to keep these standing vertical and standing still. It's really, really safe. That's a real good safety tip right there on both 500 gram cakes and 200 gram cakes. Make sure they're secure when they're on the ground. Do not shoot these on gravel where they could kind of rock or tip, or on uneven ground. That's just a huge safety tip. You're asking for a disaster when you shoot from an uneven surface. So let's talk about 500 gram, the bigger brother of the 200 gram. What's the difference? The difference is this is 200 grams and this is 500 grams. So it's more than twice. It's almost 3 times larger than this as far as pyrotechnic composition. There's a lot more you could do with this. This particular cake right here is going to shoot for 2 minutes. It's a 2-minute aerial show. So you have cakes that will last anywhere between 15 seconds, that will do multiple aerial effects, all kinds of multiple aerial effects, to cakes that shoot actually as much as 3 minutes, just single shot. Single ignition, disposal is the same as a 200 gram cake. You're going to want to make sure it's completely out. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to put it in water or spray it down with a hose. Number 3, then you're going to put it in a trash can away from a building and let it set overnight for permanent disposal. It's almost best to, once again, let it soak overnight in water, then you know it's out, then you can dispose of it any way you need to dispose of it. These items actually have a nickname and they're called a cake. Why are they called a cake? It looks like a cake. But anyway, no, and the reason why it's referred to as a cake as opposed to some of these other items back here that we'll get to in a minute, these single shot aerials, is because you light it and there's multiple things that happen at one time. It's usually in a form, in a square or a triangle. So that is the term in the industry we use. It's called a cake. Sometimes there is that odd time where not all of the tubes ignite. And the first thing you do not want to do is to lean over the cake, and this goes with any firework item. You never lean over the item, ever. And sometimes people go, Gooch, well, how do I light it? You light it by stepping away and doing it this way. Never put any part of your body over any fireworks device, especially an aerial device. So let's say the last couple rows don't shoot. What do I do at that point? Once again, make sure the whole thing is out. Vacate the area where that cake is and move your display possibly away from it. Make sure this thing has sat for at least 45 minutes to an hour. At that point, you know that that cake is probably not going to go off. Then you follow the next steps like any other device that's already been shot. Goes into the water. Keep it in the water overnight. Make sure it's fully been extinguished. It's basically at that point rendered useless, and then you dispose of it normally.